Good afternoon, everyone. I am Francesca Columbu from the marketing area. With me is Marigliano from the IT area. Today's topic is API trust, focusing on verifying mobile numbers and IPs. Let's dive into how to check them thoroughly. Emails and URLs globally. I share the presentation before starting with the webinar. I wanted to give a brief overview of what's new in OpenAPI and upcoming releases. Regarding recent developments, we have just launched the OpenAPI MCP, introducing new features. I highly suggest watching our detailed webinar on the topic, available for viewing on YouTube. Make sure to check it out. We then Relatively KYC services launched the full monitoring service. On KYC services, we also revised the prices and added new subscriptions. Another recent service is the possibility to download the negativity report in PDF, the possibility of requesting the digital receipt of court documents. We also added new countries for the API company, namely Switzerland and Poland. There are new features in console. For example, you may choose to include your phone number to start receiving notifications. There is a download area from which you can download documents. These are the two big new features, and then there are other areas dedicated to security and sandbox. As far as incoming services are concerned, we are about to publish the RAG service, the actual owner service. We are also working on SMS both worldwide and by individual country. We are about to launch personal identity verification on a global level. In terms of company services, we will be launching the search service at global level and new services for other countries in addition to those we already have. In addition, for the fintech area, we will add instant credit transfer and bank reconciliation. Let's get into the heart of the webinar. So as I said today, we will talk about how to verify URLs, IPs, emails, and mobile phone numbers in seconds. Let us explore the data provided by our services to see what information they produce, and how you can use this information to check the validity of a mobile phone number, for example, or to check the deliverability of an email, or to check the deliverability of an email, or check that URLs and IPs are not malicious. In addition, we will see the technical documentation with Mario, who will show us the documentation in the console, and we will see how to carry out the tests. So in relation to what made us decide to incorporate trust services into our operations? Certainly they are useful for assessing the health of emails, URLs in mobiles, and IP rights. We also believe that they are useful at the marketing level because they allow us to clean up contact lists. In fact, even the mere distinction between active and inactive contacts. Inactive contacts makes it possible to improve one's list and consequently also improve one's campaigns. Furthermore, from a security point of view, certainly the control of URLs, of IP rights, and in general of any malicious traffic makes it possible to improve all systems from a security point of view. Okay, so let's move on to the first service, mobile phone number verification, which is available in two versions, Start and Advanced. For the Start service, the available information includes the validity of the number, the code and the country code, the original and current operator. So it is also possible to know if there has been a change of operator and roaming. So it is possible to know if the phone number is currently in a country other than that of the original operator. Conversely, the upgraded service provides a more detailed analysis compared to the previous version, specifically focusing on giving comprehensive information. The information that makes it possible to assess the possible risk associated with a telephone number. For example, we have the fraud score. This service, if the number is leaked or if it has recently been exposed by cyber attacks, and then we have a series of information, a little more technical information, such as the MNC or the operator identification code and the MCC or the country and operator code. Operator. We then go to email verification start. Then also for email verification, we have the start version and advanced for the start version. We find from the information given by this service, we can determine the email's validity and whether the mailbox is full or not. It lets us know if the mailbox is available or at capacity or not. We are given any suggestions for correction in case of errors in the domain of the email. We have the details of the configurations, SPF configurations, and also the recognition of temporary mails. So we have a series of information, some of which we also find in the service. Advanced service, for example, the last one I mentioned, the identification of temporary mails, but to this we then add in the advanced service. Additional information such as the fraud score, the fact that the mail is leaked, i.e. exposed to cyber attacks. The fact that the mail, it is common for them to opt out of marketing lists or mark emails as spam frequently. And then we have other information such as the deliverability rate or more technical details such as the AMX record. Regarding the URL verification service, in this case, the service is available in the advanced version and provides us with information such as the risk score tells us whether the URL is potentially unsafe due to phishing, malware, and spamming, provides the domain's global ranking, indicating its worldwide popularity. It tells us whether the domain is a park domain not linked to an active website, as well as information such as the type of content of the URL. The final check is conducted on the IP advanced to provide us with details about the fraud score or fraud score as part of the last service. It tells us if there has been any recent abuse in the network connected to this IP address. Then the frequency with which an IP is involved in abusive behavior. So this is all very important information, certainly for security. Another fundamental piece of information is that which tells us whether the IP is associated with an anonymous or potentially risky connection, and then other geographical details such as GPS coordinates. So who are trust services designed for? As mentioned before, they are certainly useful for those who work in marketing for a question of enhancing campaigns by cleaning up contacts and optimizing strategies. Then they are useful. For individuals who must maintain strict security over their computer systems, it is crucial to keep them under control. They often prioritize this aspect. Ideal for e-commerce, marketing agencies, insurance desks, CRM, customer support services. What makes OpenAPI the right choice? One reason for this is the regular updating of data, which allows for ongoing detection of any potential threats. Accessing information globally allows you to obtain services instantaneously and without any restrictions, enabling unlimited testing capabilities. We will see this later with Mario, who will show us the playground area. And then on a general level, the platform has no annual fees. It has transparent prices. Costs are per request. But you also have the possibility to save money with subscriptions, annual subscriptions, or in Milan at Code Motion on 14 and 15th October. We have an extra ticket available for any of the webinar participants who are interested in attending. That being said, if you would like to join, let us know. Can write to us on LinkedIn on our company page via private message, and let's say the first one to write to us will get the ticket. 2 additional Code Motion reports released recently. On the 14th and at 16:50, there will be a talk given by our CTO, Simone DeSantis, who will talk about the MCPs of OpenAPI. Following the presentation at 5:30 p.m., we will be hosting a challenge at our stand. Developers are encouraged to attend as we test their skills with various tasks. Questions related to the API. The person who responds the quickest will receive a ticket to either Lisbon or the Web Summit happening soon. From 10 to 13 November, we will also be present at this event. Then the other event is the SMAU in Milan on 5 and 6 November and the Digital SME Summit in Brussels on 4th December. I will now hand the floor over to Mario.
Hi, everyone, I'm Mario, and now we're going to see together what is the practical part, the practical application of these APIs that used also in combination with each other allow you to go and create what is somewhat Francesca previously discussed, how something on the internet can vary in reputation across a wide spectrum. I now share with you immediately the screenshot of our dashboard of OpenAPI here, where we will go through the dedicated section, then into console, digital trust. We will see how to use these various services in real life practical cases. First of all, I remind you that in this part, in this tab, you will find the documentation where there are the various endpoints that you can call, how these endpoints work for those who already have experience with OpenAPI services. In these situations, we typically use a post method to create the request and a get method to retrieve the information. The request via the ID that is returned, so making combo, get and post, we have 2, as Francesca explained before, for HLR, so base and advanced for mobile, 2 for email, same thing. Then we have IP and URL. And these are the services. You can use them either inside the Swagger, then from here by inserting the token, just like we plan to do within the confines of the playground. When you enter this tab, you can access different playgrounds for each API. These are available for you to use and experiment with. I'll go straight away with the first one that we're going to test today, which is the fun mobile advanced one here. You can choose the environment where you're going to test. Now we're going to test directly the real service in production. Next, in terms of verifying the phone number, we will acquire it and proceed with validation. A telephone number from a call center known for frequently contacting individuals and keeping records of people's responses where they identify themselves. A certain company to represent someone anyway. By experimenting with a number like this, we can discover a range of possibilities available. Data that we will see here both in API output and in a format here, corrected for different circumstances. The request data we have here, where it tells us everything that we sent us. So on the number and ID, especially of the request and the status, the ID to retrieve the status with the and the status done because it has already finished, confirmed the authenticity of this number. And going to scroll then here are the various data and everything that we find then in the analysis, like for example, starts those on the request if the number is valid. Yes, this number is valid, the number is active, and has a fraud score of 0. Probably. Then it tells us whether it has been abused recently. If it's prepaid, all these things, road call risks are all data, which concern the number itself. Then it gives us a bit more interesting data. If we go down as MCC and MNC, which Francesca explained earlier. So from this, we can trace back to who it is through the MCC. So the country code, who it is, which telephone company operates in which specific country. MNC partners with a phone company for combo services. Country MCC. In addition, we have regarding this type of call center number, so phone numbers, certificates, we have the case where the name and surname of the person also appears with the carrier and all other data to follow. And it also gives us roughly, let's say, geographical information as to where this number. So this is the first case. Among the various phone numbers, it is essential to acknowledge the leaked data indicating exposure. This implies a potential risk if personal phone number information is compromised. Some recent data breach. We then move on to what is the second service then? The advanced email. In addition, we will be conducting a test on an email scam involving a real email address that sends fraudulent emails to deceive recipients. In this instance, it was shared with me based on personal experience, but the response to the email specified a different address, which in this situation was the following address. Here, therefore, I receive a legitimate email. When I try to respond to an email from a service I use, my reply gets attached to the original email thread. Then going to assess the reliability of this type of email. It tells us that the email here gives us fraud scores. The SMTP score, along with the overall score and other data, are all going to be revealed to us now. But first, it is important to note the significance of looking at the score. That's 91. The score goes from 0 to 100. 91 is very high, so already scores that are above 70 are considered. If the overall score for this SMTP is 1, it indicates that the email is considered to be risky. There are concerns about its credibility. So if I reply to this email, it's probably a scam. It's related to scams involving many others. Be cautious of the content and verify its legitimacy. Maybe important little things to note here too. For example, in the case of the SPF, that this email does not have a valid SPF. The SPF in a nutshell is the list of authorized sender for that mail domain. Not having an SPF in place makes this email address unreliable and potentially not genuine at all. Actual email address for authentic correspondence are all the data that you have inside here of DMARC SPF. Also the DMARC, there is an important detail. All these data that you find here can be used to evaluate how reliable this person really is. This person is truly reliable. While their actions speak the volumes about their trustworthiness, which is unmatched. Distinction to be made to take into account in the DMARC. What I wanted to point out instead is that where we find P equals quarantine, it means that the procedure in case of the result of receiving messages from this kind of email is that they are typically placed in quarantine, such as the spam or junk mail folders, indicating that the email address is not trusted. Is definitely a scam in reality. Progressing towards the next phase in the journey ahead. When it comes to the URL, the very comical incident is just one of those messages that stand out for their humor. That arrives sporadically on your mobile phone saying that you have won a voucher or have won something, and they send you a link so that you can confirm that you actually want the winnings. This link is now quite obvious that it is a scam link already by simply seeing how it is written, but we are going to analyze it anyway because there is one very curious detail in spite of everything. When it comes to URL validation, we consistently possess the information of the request along with our generated details. After which we have all the details, so we also have the final URL of where this URL leads in case there should be redirects. And in all this, we see that in the meantime, the page has an HTTP status code that is not of a working. But above all, going to see that there is nothing actually scandalous about this. Mark that link to indicate it's a 25-character text. unsafe. In fact, unsafe here is false, but the link is very suspicious. Essentially, we investigated a case in detail of a link that is not directly a scam link, phishing link, malware link, or any of these other things here that you see. All negative comments are deemed fake. True. We don't have any of these problems. Nevertheless, it is suspicious. The activity conducted on the site affects its reputation with a risk score of 89. The level of risk associated with this activity is notably high. I would then proceed with the last case, which is that of the IP address. Going to verify whether an IP address is listed in a blacklist or not. Of those IP addresses already known, and here it is obviously clearly evident that it is our observations, non-legitimate IP. Already seeing that it has recent abuse like this, there is a high bot velocity with abusive status along with positive VPN usage found here. The site is already known and blacklisted with a fraud score of 100, indicating its reputation for being fraudulent. The service already says, look, we already know this site. We avoid accepting maybe from this IP, from this connection, we avoid accepting or sending. And by concluding this section of the playground, we are also wrapping up our discussion on the API and exploring various services. Remember to utilize all data you come across effectively. Within the details here of the response, data that is valuable for managing specific tasks will be available. For instance, I can provide you with a more practical example to illustrate my point a bit better. In the case of the email, having to go and validate what is the email in here. We also have some data that can be useful for those who don't, with the purpose of, as Francesca explains, before security, but also with the purpose of marketing, in this case of this email. We have some data such as, to begin with, it's important to consider if the individual is a regular complainer, someone who frequently marks emails as spam or unwanted, especially those related to advertising that could be harmful. Even what is somewhat of a marketing campaign? Then it also tells us whether the deliverability of the mail server is high, medium, or low, i.e., how much this mail server accepting incoming mail affects the ease of reaching the destination. Let's consider this aspect when evaluating the process. Therefore, we possess a specific quantity of data that proves valuable in determining those individuals who are more inclined to accept mail from the frequent sender. Complainers and those who are not interested and file and mark it as spam, delete. All these things here, so we have different applications. Because these methods are similar in nature, extremely simple yet filled with intricate data that enable complex analysis. To conduct a more comprehensive examination of individuals, customers, people registered, in short, all these things. And with this, I would review now the word Francesca first. Allow me to present to you the very final element to consider. The service that is coming, which is identity verification. In the upcoming weeks, you will slowly start to notice changes gradually unfolding before your eyes. A small part. Here it is, where here we have the screenshot introducing the upcoming service in a presentation format. Through a page like this, you generate a code, you scan it with your mobile phone, you then proceed with your mobile phone. A new integration will be introduced in the Trust Suite, followed by a dedicated webinar scheduled for the upcoming weeks to provide more details. Because it takes its time being a service, then actually divided into each of the 4 services offers enhanced security levels. So we will propose 4 solutions, starting with the most basic verification and ending with the certified verification. And with this, I hand the floor back to Francesco.
All right, it is now time for questions. If you have any inquiries, feel free to post them in the chat.
We have questions.
Do we?
I'll answer both of you. There's a question from David about the hour that says you can get more information about checking a person. I tell you to be patient a little bit longer because it's there. coming out. So all the information you're looking for, you'll find then on the site, on the documentation as it is at the moment. This way already for trust services. I will proceed with the next one. How does the validation of the email work then, i.e. focusing on? Yes, if there is a typo and I have seen that you ask, if there is a typo in the email, then it generally depends on the typo. Generally, the most common typo is blocked right in the bud before the request is sent and a basic error is returned. Even before the request is submitted, a basic error is detected. This means that if there is a typo in the email, the call will be intercepted and not processed further. It is crucial to recognize errors promptly. Then it depends on the typo. What I mean by typo, I mean if it doesn't respect the formality of the email. So if it doesn't have a something, 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 something else, dot something, or another case, if it is not recognized, for example, the domain is not recognized in that case, the request has been sent with a signal that is also indicated. Maybe you meant to write gmail.com instead of writing gmail.com. In that case, you are notified, though in that case, the request, any content that deviates from the formal structure of the written email will not be corrected. Ilaw sienti. Please adhere to the email format provided. Corrected spaces are obviously removed, and other things are. A few questions have arrived in the meantime. Give me a second. Yes, the information provided is completely trustworthy as it originates from certified sources. The data has been recently updated as confirmed by Francesca. Rest assured that the information is indeed current and reliable. Each time in real time, so the lists are updated all the time and are the result of many parts on the net, so many reports, so many things that are updated in real time. All official items, completely certified and unquestionably approved items.
Is Alessandro Marcuccio the result has actually indicated that the number was not suspicious? Mario, tell me when.
Yes, that's right. It indicates that the number, in fact, is not suspicious, but it still associates it with what is a call center because we have the data of the name and surname anyway. Even if they are fictitious, they have been changed, but that's the point. I'm not sure if I've clarified the situation, but it's commonly referred to as a case anyway. Spammer and is associated in any case as a spammer. We can also make another case study with another phone number. I can show you for a second on the fly. We had prepared a couple. A person called from a different phone number pretending to be a representative from a bank, offering the bank's usual services with a standard message. You have been charged €8 contact assistance at this number. Instead of the original information, we now have a fraud score of 65 displayed as a numerical value. Labeled as risky, 25 characters, needs improvement. Moreover, it is crucial that there is no disclosure of personal information in call center support despite its official nature. It should be noted that these official channels are stringent in maintaining confidentiality. Need name and surname associated with the mobile number from which you are calling. This is probably a number of a private person who through a bot has sent these scammers are sending messages in hopes of being contacted again and carrying out the classic old phone scam. Stay cautious and aware of such attempts. So yes, compared to the previous spammer number, this number is a slightly more obvious case, although we don't have the data on the name. The risk is still evident, indicated by a high score of 65. This level of risk poses potential concerns, highlighting the need for caution.
Emails containing typographical errors are easily identified.
I'm looking at exactly that because it's something a lot of people are asking about. Always replying to Alessandro Marcuccio, going back to the question I asked earlier, I'm lost to understand, well, the number is the classic state number for making spam calls. Yeah, yes, exactly. How can you verify that an email belongs to a specific individual? I believe I should clarify this further because achieving proper authentication is crucial in ensuring security. Because how can you be sure that an email is associated with that person? I didn't quite understand the question. I see you wrote other things. I think it's linked. So for example, if the person is called Marco Rossi, but his email is Spider-Man, so it doesn't reference, if the email doesn't mention it, we will definitely check it out afterwards wherever the need arises. When creating an email account, most platforms require you to provide your first and last name along with identity verification. Signing up for an email address involves these steps to ensure security and authenticity. Certain things, it depends on the case. You don't look at the first and last name from the, if there are domains present with a structured existence, the process for dealing with them remains as previously explained. It is essential to address these cases accordingly, following the correct approach outlined earlier. The request has been sent, however, there is still a message displayed in a section titled, "Did you mean?" Suggesting maybe you meant before sending. Gmail, at which point, if you meant to say Gmail, you correct it. If you meant to say Gamil, as you wrote, the request went through anyway. Marco Baraldi, you can see when an email has been created. Absolutely. Yes, there is a piece of data that has not been shown inside the interface, but is present for those who have noticed it inside the output API, which takes the age of the domain, which reveals when it was created, along with the initial occurrence of that email address, indicates its historical time frame. Was created, for example, if it were to use my email, it would tell me that it was created 10 years ago on this. And so, yes. And with that, I would say, let's close with the questions, and I'll hand the floor back to Francesca.
After concluding the webinar, I'd like to express my gratitude to all participants. Looking forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you. Offline events. And at the next webinars, of course, a good afternoon to all.